Hello and welcome back. We are going to be doing something a little bit different today. We are going to kind of do a little fantasy season. This is kind of a little throwback to my older videos, if you haven't checked those out. I don't have a ton of interest in doing like a full fantasy season again, but this is kind of like, sort of like that. So hopefully this will quench your thirst for getting one of those, because I know a lot of you have been asking. This video will be sort of like a big what if All Stars waited 4 years, like they did initially, to have a new season. So All Stars 1 was in 2012, and we didn't get another All Stars until All Stars 2 in 2016. So we're going to look at what would have happened, what would the cast look like, what would the season possibly look like if we waited until 2020 to get our All Stars 3, which is going to kind of combine the queens of All Stars 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, I'm going to leave All Stars 6 off of this because, like, that would be 2021. What I did is I basically combined all of my favorite things from All Stars 3, All Stars 4, and All Stars 5. Okay, not that much from All Stars 5. But combined all of my favorite things into kind of a cluster, you-know-what, of a season, which I think would be amazing. So let's take a look at it. First, I do just want to say this is all fake. This is literally random stuff that came to my head that I threw together and means absolutely nothing. So this isn't like the fairest thing in the world. This isn't the most like unrigged thing in the world. I just made a fun little season. So let's not get too upset in the comments. Obviously, I would like to hear what you think might have happened instead with some of the placements or whatever, but I mean, it's literally a fake season, so let's not get crazy, people. If you are not already, make sure you are following me on Instagram. We are talking all about All Star 6 on there, having a lot of fun. Same on my Twitter. I've also been ranting because y'all are being mean as hell to these All Star 6 queens, and I won't have it. So if I see you talking shit on my timeline, I will respond with clown emojis because you look like a clown. Also, we just had our first trivia night, and Julian won some Denali merch from our little trivia game. So I definitely want to do more of those moving forward, and I'm planning some other fun events on the Discord server, which you can access through the Patreon. So for as little as $1, you get access to the Discord, which is, you know, a bunch of us fans who are just having some fun, talking about the seasons. It's a nice, positive environment. And you will also get some other perks, such as videos that only my patrons get to see, and some other stuff. So go check that out. I'm really close to my next goal of 75 patrons, and I will be doing some new fun stuff when I hit that. So check out my Patreon if you are able. So now let's get into what would have happened if All Stars 3 took place in 2020. First, let's find our cast. So obviously I had to take the big names of All Stars 3, All Stars 4, and All Stars 5 and kind of cherry pick who I think would be on this season. So let's look at the All Stars 3 cast. I kind of went back and forth on BB Zahara Benet. I decided to leave her off just because there were so many queens that this was going to be their second chance that obviously did not have a crown. And I think it makes sense to have like BB and other winners on when there's a season every year. But if it is just an every 4 years thing, I do think you should kind of make sure that you get on the queens that don't have crowns already and then wait for the all winners for BB. Obviously, this cast is incredible. I would have loved to put on my personal favorites like Thorgy Thor and Milk and Aja. I actually made 12 spots. I had initially 10 spots because that's who was on All Stars 2. There was 10. But I was like, there needs to be 12. Like, there's going to be 12. So I would have loved to see like a Thorgy, Aja, Milk, people that I love to see and watch in my personal all-time favorites. But with only 12 spots, they just didn't make it. Obviously, the queens that did make it, some obvious choices: Shangela, Ben de la Creme, Trixie Mattel, Kennedy Davenport, and I think kind of the dark horse here, Morgan McMichaels. Morgan was like kind of a weird choice for me, but with Tatiana being on All Stars 2 and slaying, I was like, Morgan deserves that shot too. And obviously, we saw on All Stars 3 Morgan didn't do well, but I think going into the season, people were excited to see Morgan, and she had a lot of hype. So I put Morgan on. Those were the 5 from this cast that I put on. Now, All Stars 4, another stacked cast. This was really hard, and I made some really tough cuts here. I left off Manila and Latrice just because, I mean, this is only the 3rd. They were on the 1st. I really wanted Monique Hart, but she didn't make the cut based off of season 10. I did put on Trinity the Tuck, Gia Gunn, Valentina, and Monet Exchange. The one that also killed me to not put on was Naomi Smalls. She would have been like the 13th. She was like the last one I cut. Like, I don't think you guys understand the love I have for Naomi Smalls and how hard it was for me to be like, I can't, I'm sorry, Naomi. But she was the one that I was like, it makes sense if she's not here. So we have 4 from All Stars 4. We have 5 from All Stars 3. And to be completely honest, a lot of this cast I did not even consider. I did obviously put on Shea Coulee, Ms. Cracker, and Angina. Angina obviously deserves a spot here. Shea and Cracker, huge personalities, huge fan favorites at the time. And as much as I would have loved to put on Jujubee and Alexis, I left them off for the same reason I left off Manila and Latrice. And then the other people in this cast I was really, like, I wanted to put on, but I couldn't. Derek Barry. I love Derek Barry, and it was hard to cut her, but I had to. Same with Mayhem. I absolutely adore Mayhem. She just didn't make the cut. And Mariah as well. So that is our cast. They're beautiful. They're great. This would be an amazing star-studded cast. I mean, when you look at the cast of All Stars 2 and All Stars 1, to me, this looks like a worthy successor. Let's get into the season. Now, what I did is I picked my favorite challenges, my favorite runways, and my favorite lip-sync songs from all of these seasons combined, and kind of did it in a way that made sense in my head. So let's obviously start out with the talent show. We saw every single one of these queens do a talent show. We saw Ben de la Creme win. We saw Trinity the Tuck win. We saw Morgan McMichaels and Angina and Monet Exchange not do so well. And so this one was really easy to judge. Also, side note, we will be doing Lip Sync for Your Legacy. 2 queens win, and then lip sync, and whoever wins lip sync sends home one of the bottom queens. We're going to have a bottom 2 for the whole thing. So talent show, picking the top 2 was rough. I did pick Ben de la Creme and Gia Gunn. And I had 2 high placements of Shangela and Trinity the Tuck. Now, obviously, Gia Gunn did not win in the talent show on All Stars 4, even though she should have. Here, I decided that she would win because they usually try and make sure that the top 2 in the talent show have different routines, right? It's not always going to be like that, but they try. And here, I think we have comedy in Ben de la Creme, and I think Gia Gunn is kind of like something different. Obviously, maybe she wouldn't win. Maybe they would never give Gia Gunn a win. But in my little fantasy season here, Gia Gunn gets top 2 with Ben de la Creme. Shangela and Trinity obviously do incredible. And then, I mean, the bottom 3 here is just really obvious. Monet, Angina, and Morgan all had really performances. I decided to save Monet, though, just because I felt like she had more in her performance than the other 2. Morgan's, she looked incredible. It just came off a little awkward. And Angina's, I don't know. Angina's was obviously the worst of these 3. But what will the lip sync song be that Ben and Gia Gunn are going to lip sync to? I picked Anaconda just because I needed to have Ben de la Creme lip syncing to Anaconda again. And I think Gia would do really good in this too, but like, Ben de la Creme is winning this. And for the lipstick, I think the same thing happens. Morgan says she's going to boot the queen who did better in the competition if she were ever going to win, and Ben de la Creme is like, oh, okay, bye. And Morgan McMichaels is going to be first eliminated again, unfortunately, as much as I love her. So now we have another challenge that I loved, the Divas Live Challenge from All Stars 3. Now, I don't know who everyone would do. We only saw a couple of the queens in this cast actually do this challenge, but I can kind of guess how everyone would do. We've seen most of these girls do musicals, and we know their performance abilities. I think our top two is going to be Valentina and Ben de la Creme. Ben de la Creme, let's say she still gets Julie Andrews, and let's say Valentina just gets Selena. We saw how beautiful she looked as Selena on All Stars 4, and this is just kind of right up Valentina's alley. That is going to be our top two. For the high placements, I picked Shea Coulee and Shangela. Shangela obviously did really good as Mariah Carey, and I think Shea Coulee could do something great, maybe as Grace Jones even. I mean, I just think Shea Coulee could totally slay this. And now for our bottom three, we saw Kennedy Davenport do this, and it was not good. And I don't have much faith that either Angina or Gia Gunn could do good in this either. So I'm going to pick them for the bottom three. But I do think that Gia Gunn would be not as bad. So we're going to have a bottom two of Kennedy Davenport and Angina. And then obviously we need a runway category. I picked the Redemption runway from All Stars 3. I think this is just like the perfect first runway. It allows the queens to show how they improved, show how they have grown since their first season, and I think it is just such a good idea. I hope we get it again in All Stars 6. And so for the lip sync song, I picked Into You by Ariana Grande. Again, kind of because I want to see Valentina do this again. It was amazing. Obviously, Valentina's going to win, and out of the bottom two of Kennedy and Angina, she's going to eliminate Angina because Angina is already in the bottom and kind of at this point in All Stars 5 was ready to go home. So who knows if that would be the same thing if it was All Stars 3, but Angina is going to unfortunately go home here. So now we have our final 10 going into Snatch Game. A little bit early for Snatch Game, but I want to see a lot of these queens do it, so... And it's a fake season that I made up in my head. So we're going to have Snatch Game at Final 10. It is going to be the Snatch Game of Love. And we are going to have a runway of flowers. It was like flowers everywhere or something like that from All Stars 3. Now, obviously, Ben de la Creme, again, is going to win because her Paul Lynde was incredible. This is another challenge. We've seen how every one of these queens did on All Stars. So it's really easy for me to just like pick who else would be in the top and who would be in the bottom. The other winner is going to be Trinity the Tuck with Caitlyn Jenner. That was just so good. And I'm also going to put Shea Coulee in the top. It was hilarious. She obviously won in All Stars 5. For the bottom three, obviously we did not see many of these queens do well. Cracker didn't do well. Monet didn't do well. Valentina didn't do well, Trixie didn't do well, Kennedy didn't do well, Gia didn't do well. There's a lot. I decided to put Trixie Mattel in the low position. She got at least one joke in. And I decided to put Gia Gunn and Kennedy Davenport in the bottom two. Gia's was probably the worst Snatch Game ever, and Kennedy's was just so boring. There wasn't a single joke. There wasn't a single even attempt at a joke. And if we're looking at the runway of flowers, hers was not the best. So that is going to be our bottom two. Now, Ben de la Creme versus Trinity the Tuck. Obviously, they're both pretty decent lip syncers. I picked Come Rain or Come Shine from All Stars 4 as the lip sync song. Just rain and shine, flowers. I thought it made sense. And I actually think that it would be close, but I'm going to give this to Trinity. I think that Trinity just could do better. We saw Ben de la Creme kind of flop in a slow lip sync number on All Stars 3. And I think Trinity could probably do this. So I'm going to give the win to Trinity here. And as we saw, Trinity was all about fairness. I want to compete against the best. At this point, Gia Gunn has had a top 2 placement, and this is her first time in the bottom. And Kennedy, this is her second time in the bottom, and she's never won. So unfortunately, Kennedy Davenport would go home, I think, if Trinity won. But I definitely think that Ben probably would send Gia home. So now we move on to episode 4, our improv challenge, and it was really hard to pick between The Bitchler or Jersey Justice. I mean, they were both so good, but I decided to go with The Bitchler. I thought it was just so funny, and it is such a good concept. So how would these queens do? I think that we would have a top 2 of Ben de la Creme and Ms. Cracker. They're both hilarious. They're both off the cuff, so good. But I did put Trixie Mattel in the top. She did a very solid job in The Bitchler during All Stars 3. Who would be in the bottom? I think Monet would be in the bottom 3. Monet, I think she struggles with improv, and I don't know why, because on Sibling Rivalry she is so fun, but we saw in both of her improv challenges, both on season 10 and on All Stars, she was in the bottom. I think she just struggles to, when she's forced to be funny in these situations, I just think she kind of tenses up. I don't know what it is. And obviously Trinity did not do well in Jersey Justice at all. And Gia Gunn, I just don't see doing well either. So I think that would be the bottom 3. For the runway, I picked Wigs on Wigs on Wigs because it's just iconic. I promise we're going to get runways that aren't from season 3 of All Stars, but they just had such good runway concepts. I think we would see Monet be safe here. Now, for a funny challenge, I thought it would be fun to have a campy lip sync song. So I picked You Spin Me Round by Dead or Alive, which we saw was an absolute flop on All Stars 4. But I think Cracker and Ben could 100% make this work. They're both really good at comedic lip syncs. And I'm going to give them both the win here. It's going to be that kind of, oh, they both won the lip sync. They both get to pull a lipstick. And they're both going to pick Gia Gunn. I mean, Gia's obviously going to be a villain. It's her 3rd week in a row in the bottom 3. I think it just kind of makes sense that Gia would go home here and Trinity would stay. So now we have our girl group challenge. And I picked the Spice Girls challenge or the Kitty Girls challenge from All Stars 3. There's a lot of All Stars 3 in this beginning of the season, but I promise we're going to get more stuff later on. So, All Stars 3, we have Sitting on a Secret and Drag Up Your Life. We're going to make Ben de la Creme and Ms. Cracker the team captains, and they're going to pick their teams. I think Ben would pick Trixie, Shay, and Shangela, and I think Cracker would pick Monet, Valentina, and then get stuck with Trinity. So those are going to be our groups. Ben, Trixie, Shay, and Shangela to Drag Up Your Life, and Cracker, Monet, Valentina, and Trinity to Sitting on a Secret. Obviously, I think Drag Up Your Life is going to win here. Ben de la Creme and Shea Coulee are 2 of the greatest performers on Drag Race ever, and obviously Trixie and Shangela are great too. I think that is going to be our top 2, Ben and Shay, with Shangela and Trixie being in the top. Our runway is going to be Curves and Swerves from All Stars 4. And as just like a gaggy moment, we're going to put the entire other team in the bottom. We're going to have a bottom 4 of Cracker, Monet, Valentina, and Trinity. Now, a lip sync between Ben de la Creme and Shea Coulee. I picked Jump because it's by a girl group from All Stars 3. And, I mean, Shea Coulee is going to win. Shea Coulee is just like, she is it. Ben de la Creme is a solid lip syncer, but just not the best. Shea Coulee, I think, is one of the best. So, Shea is going to win. And who is she going to eliminate out of this bottom 4? I think she's going to pick Trinity. As we saw, Shea was pretty fair all throughout All Stars 5. And even though Trinity is her friend from season 9, Trinity's track record just was not as good as the other queens in the bottom 4. She had already been in the bottom, none of the others have. So I think Trinity the Tuck would go home here. Now we have our roast. And I picked the roast of Lady Bunny from All Stars 4. This was really hard to do because every queen here, with the exception of Valentina, I think is hilarious and can be hilarious and probably would be hilarious in this. So picking tops and bottoms was impossible. But for top 2, I picked Monet Exchange because she did incredible in this challenge on All Stars 4. And I also picked Trixie Mattel because this is just what Trixie does. So for the bottoms, this is going to be controversial. I put Ben in the bottom 3. Obviously, Ben was so much better at everything that she did on All Stars 3. And I'm sure that she would not do nearly as bad as she did in the roast. Well, it wasn't really a roast, but the comedy challenge on season 6. She was the only, like, that's the only thing I have to base off of, is that I know she's not good at stand-up from season 6. Maybe she still wouldn't be great at it on All Stars. We never got to see her try. So I'm just going to put her in the bottom 3 along with Shangela and Valentina. Shangela is another really kind of, I don't know. She won the stand-up challenge on season 3, but I just don't see her doing as well as all of these other queens. I don't see her doing better than Shay. Shay did so good on All Stars 5's stand-up challenge. I don't see her doing better than Cracker. I don't see her doing better than Trixie or Monet. So I'm just going to have to put Shangela here. I have a bottom 2 of Shangela and Valentina. And we're going to keep the angelic white runway from this episode because it just makes sense. The lip sync song is going to be Juice by Lizzo because it's one of my favorite songs and I wanted it to be on the season. So we have a Monet Exchange and Trixie Mattel lip sync to Juice. Obviously, Trixie's a horrible lip syncer and Monet's going to win. Now, who is she going to send home between Shangela and Valentina? She's going to pick Valentina because I think Valentina is the only one that would actually flop this challenge. So now we have our top 6. But we're going to pick my favorite redemption episode from All Stars 3 to 5, which is the Lollapalooza. That is right. All of the queens are going to have to win a lip sync in order to stay in the competition. Now, I picked 6 songs from iconic divas of the 70s and 80s that have been lip syncs in these seasons. So we're just going to call it, instead of the RuPaul Lollapalooza, we're going to call it the Divas Lollapalooza. So, who would pick who? First choice is Valentina. She's going to pick Trixie, because Trixie's the obvious choice. Trixie is not a good lip syncer, and Valentina is not stupid. Valentina is going to pick Trixie. Next, Trinity. I think Trinity would pick Cracker. Cracker isn't known to be a big lip syncer. Obviously, we saw in All Stars 5 she can do it and can be good at it, but it's just not what she's known for. So next is Gia Gunn. I think she's going to pick Shea Coulee. I mean, obviously, Shea had a huge lip sync blunder on season 9, and at the point that Gia was in the competition, she never got to see Shea lip sync. So I think Shea would be the next choice for who Gia has to choose from. Next, we have Kennedy Davenport. She's going to pick Ben de la Creme. And that leaves Angina choosing between Monet and Shangela. I think she would pick Monet, and then Morgan is left with Shangela. Little storyline there. So, our first lip sync of this Lollapalooza is going to be Morgan versus Shangela, our season 2 queens. And they're going to lip sync to Emotions by Mariah Carey. Obviously, they're both incredible lip syncers. And Morgan, I think, is one of the best lip syncers we've ever had on the show. But there's no way that they're going to let the first eliminated queen win this challenge. Like, it just isn't going to happen. And Shangela, I think, would do great. So Shangela is going to win this lip sync. Next, we have Angina versus Monet to Open Your Heart by Madonna. And Angina, I don't know if she's a great lip syncer, but we know Monet is one of the greatest, so Monet is going to win this lip sync. Next, we have When I Think of You by Janet Jackson. This was hard. This was really hard because we have Dela, who has won 5 challenges already, and Kennedy, who was the third out. I did pick Dela to win this lip sync. Do I think that Kennedy could outdance Dela? Yes. But this is kind of a campy-ish song. This is a song that Dela, I think, could camp up, and it's not so much of a dance song that Kennedy could immediately win. So I think that Kennedy would go home. But, I mean, if this was like the fairest thing in the world, Kennedy would probably win and come back. But we're going to have Dela stay. So Dela's going to move on. Next, we have Gia Gunn versus Shea Coulee to The Bitch Is Back by Tina Turner. I almost just said Tina Burner. And Shea's going to win. I mean, hands down, Shea's going to win. Next, we have Trinity the Tuck versus Ms. Cracker to How Will I Know by Whitney Houston. And I think that Cracker could win. We actually saw Trinity do this song on All Stars, and she did fine. But as we saw, Cracker really, I think, improved her lip-syncing abilities for All Stars. So I think Cracker could win this for sure. And that leaves our final lip sync, The Boss by Diana Ross, Valentina versus Trixie. And I do not think that it is a shock that Valentina is going to win this and send Trixie Mattel home. I really think that the Lollapalooza would have packed a bigger punch on All Stars if one of the remaining queens in the competition got the axe. And here, we're going to do it because I think it would be really shocking, especially to a fan favorite like Trixie Mattel. But it would be fully deserved. Like, let's be real, that Trixie would not win in The Boss against Valentina. So, Valentina back in the competition, Trixie Mattel out of the competition, and we have our final 6, our new final 6, doing the Club Queens Challenge from All Stars 4, where they team up and make a club. Who would team up? I think it would be obviously Cracker and Monet, Valentina and Shea as well, and that would leave Ben and Shangela. Now, I think that it's pretty obvious Cracker and Monet would win this challenge 100%. They are just so funny together, and we saw Monet do a really good job in this challenge originally. I think that they would hands down win. I think that Ben and Shangela would probably do safe, and I think that Shea would end up having to do a lot of the work, like in the actual All-Stars 4 that Valentina was in. And we also saw Shea be in the bottom for this challenge in All-Stars 5, so they're going to be our bottom 2. Now, what is the runway? We have our plastic. I really liked it, and this is actually from the episode on All-Stars 4. And the lip sync is going to be Where Have You Been by Rihanna, Cracker versus Monet. This could be really close. Cracker did a really good job in this lip sync on All-Stars 5. But, I mean, I just think Monet would absolutely slay this. So we're going to have Monet win this lip sync. And that leaves her making the decision, Shea Coulee or Valentina. She's going to send home Valentina right back out the door. It's a revolving door for Valentina. And we have our top 5 going into the Pop Art Ball. Now, this was hard too. I think that the top 2 are going to be Cracker and Shea. They both are great sewers. They're both funny enough that they could make a really good soup can. And I am confident they would probably do the best. That leaves a bottom 3 of Ben de la Creme, Monet Exchange, and Shangela. Now we have the lip sync being Make Me Feel by Janelle Monáe. It gives me, 70s vibes, so why not? Who would win this lip sync, Shea or Cracker? We literally watched it happen. I think Shea is going to win. Now, the real question is Shea going to send home the front runner, or is she going to send home the queen with the worst track record? And knowing Shea, she's going to send home the queen with the worst track record, which is Shangela. So Shangela is going to go home here in 5th place. That leaves us with a top 4 of Ben de la Creme, Ms. Cracker, Shea Coulee, and Monet exchange. Here are their dusted and busted scores. And we're going to do the finale where they do a song. Let's pick Kitty Girls because that's the best option we have. And one gets cut. We have a final three and a final lip sync between the three. Who is going to get cut? I think it's going to be Monet Exchange. She has the worst track record here. I think that she would do incredible in this final Katie Girls challenge, but the other three I think also would as well, so I'm going to cut Monet, and that leaves us with the top three of Ben de la Creme, Ms. Cracker, and Shea Coulee. They're going to lip sync to Fighter by Christina Aguilera, and the winner of All Stars 3, if, this was a thing, is going to be Ben de la Creme. Now, also, the question is, would Ben quit? I think she probably quit just for publicity, but in this, Ben doesn't quit. So, Ben is going to be our winner. But, that Final Four would be completely iconic. This entire season would be iconic with this cast. So, let me know what you think. Obviously, I made some decisions just to make the season spicier and more fun, but what would you have changed? Who would you have kept in certain situations? I want to hear your thoughts. Would your cast even look the same? Here are my social medias. Thank you to my patrons, and I had a lot of fun making this little just like what if concept, and I know a lot of you want to see another fantasy season, so this is just kind of like a little, here you go, enjoy this. I don't foresee myself doing another full fantasy season, but give me some prompts and I might do another video like this again in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. It has been an amazing day solving the mystery of which season of All Stars has the worst challenges. And it's All Stars 5. I literally didn't even use a single one. And I was like, oh, okay. Not even sorry about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.